Hey everybody, my name is Joseph. As said, I've been here for the last decade. I joined the Ethereum space as essentially a broken student, and I discovered Ethereum, and it pretty much changed my life. And I've seen crazy stuff to be happening in the ecosystem. I'm blessed that I could be part of many of the great things that you guys have been creating. And now it's been 10 years and I'm still broke and I'm still here. So thank you for having me. Today, I want to talk about principles of Ethereum. By the way, this is supposed to be a lightning talk, but we just saw the lightning strike by Benji. So I hope this is not too boring. What I'm going to argue about today is that forget crops and forget the entire mandate thing. I'm going to get to that in a bit. But what I want to argue for is that Ethereum is a technology generating society. And what does it mean? I think in the sentence, there are actually two meanings. I want to argue that Ethereum is a technology that generates society, but I also want to argue that Ethereum is a society that generates the technology. That's all of the builders that actually go out and build stuff. And what I propose with these principles definitely isn't something definitive, but I just want to make an argument, show them to you, and then let you guys to help me define them. So let's start with a question. How can principles form a society? So on your left, you see the 10 commandments. Is there actually anyone here who can yell out a few of them? Is there anyone who remembers all 10? Awesome. See, like, there was one person raising his hand, I think. There's probably a few more, and like if you guys tried, you probably could recreate, I don't know, like 50, 70%, which is good enough. The point here being, well, these 10 commandments have essentially created what we know as the Western society. Do we live by them? Somewhat. Do we necessarily have to remember all of them? Like, hell no. But they're there, and they're useful, and they're easy to understand for anybody. There's another example. So roughly a month ago at Prague, we were lucky enough to welcome Marianne Goodell, one of the founding members of the Burning Man project. And I would argue that Burning Man is another great example of a large community that has been fostered and stewarded through 10 easy principles. I'm not going to go through them, but I definitely encourage you to look them up. I think there are some overlaps with what we see in Ethereum, but there are definitely also major differences in the Burning Man spirit. And I also know there are a bunch of burners here. I haven't been to Burning Man, but I still find it amazing of like how these principles and how the simple communication of these has been forming this tremendous pop-up city every year, and like went way beyond from just one event into this entire generation and community worldwide. I mentioned the EF mandate, and you've seen it throughout the day. It's like a bunch of slides with EF, things this, things that. What I would argue for is that let EF keep its mandate. In my opinion, Ethereum actually needs much wider principles. And there definitely is an overlap between Ethereum, or what I see as Ethereum, and the Ethereum Foundation. I mean, a whole bunch of the crop stuff definitely applies to both. But the way I read the EF mandate is that it's a political document that defines a mission and a like accountability framework for one organization within much wider ecosystem. So just like let EF write 40 pages documents, but if we actually want to communicate way more effective to much wider group of people what Ethereum is, I think we should make it narrow. We should make it much easier for them to grasp it, or even like to read through this. So the first principle, and I don't know how much time I have, but this should be quick. The first principle, which obviously matches the mandate, is sovereignty for everyone. We obviously want anyone in the ecosystem to be able to do whatever they want. Like we don't want to wait for permissions. And by anyone, I mean like any individual, any business, any institution, if they will, they should be able to do this under the umbrella of Ethereum. Well, obviously, like there are caveats to what we find to be moral, but if we consider this to be one of the principles, then we can see how this plays out with a couple more of them. The second one is decentralization as a duty. It's not just like the blank decentralization, but we actually see purpose in chasing, removing the central points of failure from any system within Ethereum. Let it be technical, or even let it be the community structure that we created. So although coordination is necessary, we know that critical dependencies are dangerous for the system. We try to avoid them. By the way, I think it's super funny that like some of the slides had, or the previous talks have very similar images generated by Codex. So I think we're pretty much like bucketed for what Ethereum stands for already. Normalizing privacy, obviously that's part of props. But I think that's the thing that unites us. Within the Ethereum space, let that be the technological advancements on zero-knowledge proofs and on pushing those onto the chain, or let it be even us as a community making sure to stand up for anyone's privacy in the space. Conscious pluralism. You can argue, and I mean, again, like I'm not 100% convinced these are the right principles. I want you to actually then come and talk to me and comment on these. But I think there is also an important factor in the consciousness of the decentralization. We've seen great things to be kickstarted, to be created on Ethereum, like Lido, like Aave, and so on, like Get. But in my opinion, we tend to like them more if they are not threatening us, if they are not becoming the single point of failure. What we've seen previously was people hating Lido for being too successful. People hating Aave for being too successful. And to be honest, I actually tend to like Get even more now that I know it's not the core dependency of the entire ecosystem. So we choose pluralism over domination in Ethereum. The next one, I think, shared with the Burning Man spirit as well, is sharing responsibilities. We know that it's not up to one single person, one single entity to be the steward and to actually take action. We at Ethereum, we show up. Credible neutrality. This is actually the one where I'm not sure about this myself. I think the network should be neutral. Some people are arguing that the network can be neutral, like we are what makes it neutral, or the operators do. And I think it's a very core or very important aspect on the technical level, but is it on the social level? Shouldn't Ethereum be more of a chaotic good than a truthful or lawful neutral in the D&D sense? I don't know. The open spirit. So from what I've witnessed, we love experimentation with whatever. Nothing is sacred. We can go and build crazy stuff and we can see it flourish or die, and it won't stop us. We'll just see people building new financial systems, new identity systems, you call it. I think it's very core of what we stand for within the Ethereum space. And finally, the 8 principles. There's 8 of them. I don't know why. This just happened so. It's biddling over talking. So this was supposed to be a lightning talk. I hope I'm not too much over, but this is where I'm going to actually finish. So I think the cypherpunk view on writing codes and being hands-on is actually quite important. Obviously, we love conferencing, but we also love people building and hacking on different things. And if we stop doing that, we just get into the talking, Ethereum definitely won't be what it was until now. So I'll shut up now. You go back to building. These are the 8 principles: sovereignty for everyone, decentralization as a duty, normalizing privacy, conscious pluralism, responsibility sharing, credible neutrality, open source spirit, and biddling over talking. You can, and please do, scan this QR code. That will lead you to DDocs, to filewares. Refine these with a few more words, a paragraph for each. I would definitely want to encourage you to open this up and comment and just see if this makes sense and contribute in the open-spirited way to how would you define what Ethereum is in a few different easy principles. And that's it. That's actually the final slide. Thank you.